Welcome. What is up, my fellow 12s? Welcome to this very first episode, the inaugural episode of my new podcast, Seahawks Win. If you love talking football, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button right now, because today and every day, as we continue on throughout this entire year, as we move to February, we're going to be tackling some of the biggest questions that linger over this team, because we know as much as we want them to be having a perfect season, we know that's not going to happen. There's always some kind of question on what we can do to improve. Now, this year, we've got a wonderful, I don't know about you, I've had an amazing offseason. Everybody's asking me, how do you feel about being a Seahawks fan and the fact that they dominated? And I was one of the ones that got one of those cool towels there at the Super Bowl. I was there in Santa Clarita and at Santa Clara. So looking at this team, we're wondering about the pressure. Again, winning one Super Bowl is very difficult. It's very hard to do, but trying to run it back, is that a whole nother level of stress? And it's great to hear Coach Mike Mack talk about the fact that we're not trying to run it back. We are trying to run it forward, because as he says, and he said studies have proven that when you're trying to run it back, there's just way too much stress, way too much pressure, because everybody's gunning for your style. Everybody's trying to go for your head. And so to survive that, what do thriving NFL teams actually need to do to go all the way? Now, today, I'm breaking down the exact 5 ingredients that I feel you need to build a championship machine. And we all got to see it firsthand this year. Now, let's get into it, because the number one spot that I would like to talk about, the number one ingredient, is a superior general manager. Now, everything starts in the front office. A championship general manager has to make the absolute best decisions for the future of the club. First, they have to give the team space to figure out what is their actual identity. And I think we didn't get that a whole lot when Pete was here, especially at the very tail end. I think, of course, during the Legion of Boom era, we knew who we were, but for some reason, the identity got lost. And so the general manager's job is to try not to micromanage the locker room. Second, they have to make timely trades, pulling the trigger exactly when the team needs to spark. Third, they must ruthlessly protect the salary cap so that the team doesn't go broke, helping and making sure that they don't get old, that we don't keep old talent. And fourth, they have to hire the best possible head coach. And finally, they can't be sentimental. They have to let go of the depreciating players, those that are getting older and maybe have lost half a step, and as well as the coaches that, again, the coaching staff is also something that they have to let go sometimes. So that brings us to the second one, is a superior head coach. You have to find a leader like Mike Macdonald, who has a proven, locked-in defensive system designed to win football games right now. But a great head coach can't do it alone. They need to surround themselves with superior assistant coaches who know exactly how to call plays, coach up underperforming players or rookie players, and stay completely detail-oriented throughout every single practice. And so then it brings me to the third ingredient, which is the superior starters. You need to find amazing talent. Your first string guys can't just be talented. They have to have the right mindset. We are talking about players who genuinely play for each other, not just their own stats. They have to be incredibly detail-oriented, just like the coaches, but they're doing this detail orientation on the field, and they must obsess over keeping their bodies in peak physical shape so they don't break down when the season gets tough in December and January. And the final ingredient we're going to talk about, the number 4 ingredient, is an above average bench players. Now, people forget that injuries happen to every single team in the NFL. Your backup players are the unsung heroes of a Super Bowl run. You need guys who, when their number is called, can step right onto the field and not be a glaring hole in your system. A championship team is as strong as its weakest link. So there's the blueprint. And again, I'm hoping that that as this year goes on, the team knows how to handle the pressure. They can survive the targets on their back, and they can build a true, real dynasty. Now, drop a comment below and let me know if you think our front office has what it takes to stick to this blueprint this season. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, as we continue on, let's go ahead and continue on this segment of Seahawks Win. All right, 12s, welcome to this last segment that I call Seahawks Say What? This is where we look at the wildest headlines, the craziest internet rumors, and the absolute hottest takes floating around the Pacific Northwest and Seahawks country this last week. We are coming off an unbelievable Super Bowl 60 victory, but the football world never sleeps, and the takes are already boiling hot. I've been listening to what the biggest names in the Seahawks media space are saying, specifically Hawk Blogger and Dan Viens, my two favorite podcasters. I know you guys like to listen to them as well. And some of these takes made me stop and say, what? Today I'm putting their ideas on the hot seat. I'm going to give them full credit, lay out exactly what they said, and then give you my raw, unfiltered, agree or disagree verdict. Let's dive into the madness. All right, story number one, let's talk about the money. Dan Viens over at Seahawks Forever dropped a massive take on the front office this week. The Seahawks just locked up edge rusher Derick Hall on a 3-year, $42 million contract extension that could max out at about $46 million. Dan is calling this an absolute masterclass by general manager John Schneider. His point is that by paying Hall now, the Seahawks completely avoid getting ripped off. Brian Nemhauser over at Hawk Blogger completely agreed, pointing out that Hall is a rare, balanced defender who finished near the top of the league in both rushing and passer and stopping run the run. So, do I agree or disagree? I agree with Dan and Hawk Blogger on this one. Paying your own young talent before their price tag explodes is exactly how you protect the salary cap, as we said earlier. Hall has earned every penny, and keeping him anchoring our defense without giving up future draft picks is a massive win for this front office. Now, the second story, again, gets a little bit more crazier, but when it gets even wilder, that brings us to the take number two, and this one blew up the internet. There is a massive rumor circulating that the Seahawks aren't done building a historic defense. People are asking, should Seattle double down on their championship ring and trade for someone like Max Crosby from the Raiders? Now, the take online is that adding an elite game-wrecking pass rusher like Crosby is the next logical step to guarantee this back-to-back championship run. When I first read this headline, I literally said, Seahawks say what? And for me, my verdict is I strongly disagree. Now, Max Crosby is a future Hall of Famer, but we literally just extended Derick Hall, emptying our draft assets and destroying our salary cap for one player when our defensive line depth is already elite. Makes zero sense to me. We have the ingredients to win right now without chasing video game trades. Now, let's talk about the Tyrice Knight hype train. Now, Hawk Blogger was down at OTAs capturing live footage this week, and he started a massive hype train. Brian's hot take is that after watching Knight's footwork and speed in bag drills, and is already the absolute clear favorite to lock down as the third linebacker spot, completely outshining the veterans on the roster. My verdict on this? I'm going to split the uprights and say I kind of agree. I love the optimism, and Knight looks like an absolute stud. We got to see it on tape, but it's June, folks. We are watching players run around in shorts and t-shirts with no pads on. Let's wait until training camp before we... All right, the Super Bowl quarterback debate. Story number 4 takes us right to the quarterback room, and this take is spicy. Even though Sam Darnold just led us to a 29-13 Super Bowl victory over the Patriots, the critics are already coming out of the woodwork. While teammates like Julian Love are publicly defending Darnold against the doubters, some analysts are actively questioning his long-term future. They're saying Seattle needs to look at draft prospects like Jalen Milroe, even give Drew Lock, the backup, another look, claiming Lock outperformed Darnold in past practices. I say a massive disagree. The disrespect to a quarterback who literally just handed the city a Lombardi trophy is out of control. Darnold executed the system perfectly when it mattered most. You don't bench or move on from a championship winning quarterback based on old practice. Darnold is our guy until proven otherwise. Man, I can't believe that. Now, Byron Murphy's 10 sack ambition. Now, this story, number 5, is all about attitude. I love me some Byron Murphy II. Now, he gave an interview this week and laid out some massive all-pro ambitions. He publicly stated his goal is to be the single best defensive tackle in the entire NFL this season, aiming for a wild 10-plus sacks. Now, he had 9 sacks, so this isn't that wild, but mainstream media thinks that he's talking too big. But local analysts are hyping this up as the exact championship mindset this team needs to repeat. Do I agree or disagree? I 100% agree. I want our defensive anchors thinking big and playing bigger. Murphy has the talent, the coaching system under Mike Macdonald, and the surrounding pieces to absolutely hit double-digit sack marks. Love the confidence. All right, let's talk about Jadarian Price, or is it Jadarian Price? Finally, let's talk about the biggest hype train of the week, Mr. Jadarian Price. After just one day of rookie minicamp, the internet this week was treating this first-round pick like he's an all-American playing against high school kids. The screaming hot take online right now is that Price is already locked in as our primary franchise running back for the next 5 years, especially after he busted open a 45-yard touchdown run from Drew Lock during an OTA drills. My final verdict? I disagree. I disagree with the timeline, but I agree with the hype. Price is an absolute lightning bolt, and that 45-yard touchdown run was beautiful to watch, but let's remember, we have a highly competitive backfield. Price is going to be a weapon, but calling him the definitive 5-year savior after week 1 of OTAs is peak off-season madness. But hey, that is why we love the off-season, right? Huge shout out to Dan Viens and Hawk Blogger for driving the conversation this week. Make sure you check out their channels to hear their full breakdowns. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with the Derick Hall extension? Do you agree we should trade for Max Crosby? Drop your wildest takes in the comments below. Smash that button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And remember, go Hawks, and I'll see you next time on Seahawks Win.